Welcome to Liverpool. We're here at the Athenaeum, built in 1797. It's a members club. It's got a fantastic library, but we're here in the committee room, which I've basically adopted as our cabinet briefing room, as if we were in government. Now, we're here for the 50-50 Parliament Amplifying Muted Voices. My name's Caroline Whitehead. I'm a trustee for 50-50 Parliament. I'm also the lead for the Amplifying Muted Voices campaign. It's to empower northern women of colour to get into politics, whether it be the council chambers or the Palace of Westminster. And it is kindly funded by the Rosa Fund, supported by Human and the Zebra Partnership, and also Male Allies UK. Right, breathe. I have with me some fantastic guests that have joined us. We have Kirsty Watson to my far left here. Kirsty Watson is on the board of the CMI Regional Board. I think it's Yorkshire, isn't it?
Yeah, North East Yorkshire and Humber.
She's also an entrepreneur and a business person, but she's also an agent of change. And to my near left here is Councillor Amanda Onwuemene, and she is councillor for the Green Party. And to my right is Cllr Bisi Osundeko. Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you all a question, and I'm going to start with Councillor Amanda. How did you get into politics? Just a quick snapshot on what inspired you to get into politics.
Thanks very much, Caroline. My inspiration to get into politics was actually looking around my local area and thinking that I could do better. I'd been in the Labour Party and I'd recently joined the Green Party, and quite luckily there was a gap that came along. The Green Party were asking for councillors for Birkenhead and Tranmere, which is my area. And so I applied, went through the process. I applied to become a councillor, and I was accepted by the Green Party to stand as a councillor. And then I was voted in by the residents of my area. I've lived in Birkenhead and Tranmere for over 50 years. I think I was pretty well known before I was voted in. And I've been voted in twice now. The impetus to move into politics is to make a change. For me, it's to make a change. I want a more socialist government. I want a government that actually does what it says it's going to do. And I'm very much for action and movement. And that's what I wanted in Birkenhead and Tranmere. Less of the stagnation and more action and movement towards what the residents want.
Well, that's commendable. I totally agree with you. And I'm going to go over to you, Councillor Bisi, and just tell us about your journey into politics.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Carol. It's great to be here in the committee room. And I got inspired to go into politics about a decade ago when I started to work in the community, mainly as a volunteer. So I noticed that there was such a huge gap in services that were provided for families who had children with special needs. And as a carer myself, I had lived experiences of the challenges that families like ours were facing, and I wanted to find not just my own voice, but I also wanted to support other families as well to find their voice. So I started a support group where, peer-to-peer support, will just support each other. All of us have children with special needs, and that was really how I got into politics, where members of the community basically walked up to me and encouraged me to put myself forward, because clearly a lack of diversity in the sense that we need more voices from ethnic minority background, families like mine. And up until when I was elected, St. Helens has never elected anybody from an African background. So I am the first council of African descent in St. Helens, and I'm hoping I will not be the last. That's definitely some of the reasons why I consider events like this be really important, because it's really, really vital that we amplify voices of, individuals like us, so that other people can also see that they can definitely also, contribute something. They have something to offer. I've really been involved locally, regionally, and also nationally as well. I am currently the scrutiny advisor to the Merseyside Police. I am to the Merseyside Police Commissioner, and I am also the BAME officer as well for St. Helens South and Winston CLP. Apart from the support group that I run, I also recently started an initiative where I think minorities in St. Helens, it's more like a forum where we all come together to encourage each other, because that's something we noticed, that a lot of individuals from these backgrounds, they really just need a seat at the table. They need to be involved in the governance, and I really want to see more individuals from my background involved in politics. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Well said. And I'm going to go to Kirsty. Now, Kirsty's not a councillor, but this is the thing about this campaign. It's that whole journey, that trajectory, that Kirsty could be a councillor, she could be an MP, but we're empowering and encouraging women who are out there who've got a voice. And Kirsty, just tell us what's important to you, what your role is with the CMI and business that you're in, and what's important to you going forward.
I am the regional stakeholder lead for the North East Yorkshire Humber region for the Chartered Management Institute, and some of the work that I've been doing is specifically around social economic backgrounds, marginalisation, the importance of bridging that gap between saying and doing, as you've alluded to as well, in organisations, making people more accountable, looking at social embeddedness. I come from the school of thought that when it comes down to things like equality and diversity, inclusion, there's a lot of getting people in, ticking boxes, but how do they feel when they get into that workplace? Do they feel socially embedded in that workplace? Do they feel valued? Do they get the promotions? Do they get acknowledged for the work that they do, etc.? I also have an academy where I work with individuals and help them coming from different backgrounds, getting into better paid roles, and I like to also look at getting them into management. I believe that the younger generation are our future managers. We have some of them around the table, and getting them that taste of what it's like to be an ethically correct leader. And alongside that, I'm also doing my PhD in entrepreneurial skills of individuals that come from marginalised backgrounds and looking at some of the challenges that individuals face, and from an intersectionality perspective, how can they utilise those challenges to create a better society. And all of that, especially the PhD work when it comes down to publications, is with a view of hopefully trying to impact change through policy. And policy is what assists the politicians to make their decisions. So whilst I'm not looking to become a politician, I'm definitely looking to influence policy.
You see, that's exactly my point, that there are women out there making changes in different areas, and this is why I want to amplify their voice and what they're doing. So, whoever your local councillor is, an MP, they'll be able to connect with you, and you can share your views with them, and then they can sort of circulate that and make that work, because nobody does any of this alone. Would you not agree? To the two councillors, I want to ask, what would you say is the one thing that you found that while you've been a councillor, well, that was a success, that worked? Is there anything that you can pinpoint to say, well, I'm glad I was around, I did that, I worked with that, or I was part of that team that brought that to fruition or out in the open?
Thank you. Really fantastic question. There's so many examples. I get a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment from just having that feedback from residents, after I've helped them, casework. You can just see that smile on their faces when you have really made a positive impact in the life of someone. And I also love the fact that in St. Helens, a lot of people from my background actually look up to me. And I hope it's not pressure, but in a way, it also gives me a sense of responsibility, if you know what I mean. And when the issue of George Floyd happened, I noticed that there wasn't any sort of comms around it. I was really, really happy about it, in spite of the fact that it was very distressful just hearing what was going on and everything. But I put that anger into words, and I was able to impact and to actually lobby our council to actually recognize what was going on, the oppression, the individuals, not just black men, were going through in the hands of the police. And I think when the comms finally came out, it's not just the fact that I was acknowledged. I really felt fulfilled that I was able to make that positive change. And I think that's why it's important for us to have diverse voices at the table. So this was something that not just impacted me, but impacted men in my family. So I was really happy that St. Helens Council was able to acknowledge the effects of the whole issue about George Floyd and the oppression, he faced and all that, and how that was sort of going to play out in the UK and also in the Merseyside as well. And also, even when I just look around my local area and I can see some of the physical changes that I've been able to make in residents who have housing problems, it really just gives me a sense of fulfillment. Thank you.
I want to give you a round of applause. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Amanda, anything that's happened during your time as a councillor that you can say, well, I'm glad I was part of that, or we've made a difference?
The thing that comes to mind straight away is writing motions for council. And last year I wrote a motion for council using some data that was put together by the co-chairs of Wirral Green Party. And we put together a motion which was to bring people out of poverty or being destitute by ensuring that they were claiming all of the benefits that they were entitled to. And that motion has been unanimously passed at council. So now Wirral Council is working with an organisation that actually looks through all of the data and ensures that people on benefits are getting every single penny that they are due. And I think in the cost of living crisis, that's really important.
Yeah.
And that work started in December when the motion was passed, and it's carrying on now so that people are being pulled out of poverty, hopefully, and that's throughout the whole of the Wirral. So I was really pleased about that. And I think the other thing is that within the Green Party, I'm the chair of Greens of Colour, and this is a committee and special interest group that is put together so that people who are global majority have got a place within the Green Party where we look to ensure that racism is identified and acted upon. And we also support people going to become activists or councillors or parliamentary candidates for the Green Party. This year, for the first time, I helped to, as the chair, helped to organise a one-day conference on racism in politics, which was really well attended, and lots of really good information and collaboration came out of that conference. And next year we're hoping to be working with an outside organisation on an international conference, and the conference is about climate change and its effect on people from the Southern Hemisphere. So that they're the type of things that I'm really pleased that I was around.
That's fantastic. And Kirsty, I know you've been talking about how you're empowering young people. Is there one particular case study that you can just briefly tap on that you think, that's why I'm doing this, that's why I'm here?
Well, I would actually go with Kenzie, who I would class as my case study currently. So Kenzie has started with us on, well, it's a year now, isn't it, on an apprenticeship. And already Kenzie is actually managing and training Josiah. So Josiah's our new apprentice.
Oh, wow.
So it's obviously, it's like a case of coming along, showing Josiah how to do things, digital marketing things, using WordPress. And you come along to all the events as well, don't you? And Josiah's just about to start coming along to them. And I think it's really important to have any of the apprentices feel like they're part of the journey of the changes that are being made. I'm also proud of the fact that Kenzie voted.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, excellent.
We do have, there is a little bit of pushback sometimes with some young people where they don't feel like they need to vote, they don't feel like they're going to get listened to. And as with all training providers, we talk about British values and the importance of democracy. Kenzie's pipeline, I'm hoping Kenzie's going to be a full-on senior leader by the time you're 25.
That's fantastic. That's the thing with the younger generation is, yes, use your vote. For the general election just gone, we had the She Vote 24, which was basically trying to empower every woman to vote, because there has been a fall off of women voting, and also young people as well, like you say. So that's great, and we've got a nice spectrum around the table from an age point of view. I want to win this round and thank both councillors and Kirsty for joining us, and you two as well for joining us, because cake has arrived. Nothing gets in the way of cake, but some important dates for you to think about. If you want to join us in person, we're at the Portico Library, so another heritage venue, the Portico Library in Manchester, on the 29th of October. Twist on that is painting and politics at the Portico. So if you go onto Eventbrite and look for the Amplifying Muted Voices event, where we'll have another panel there, that will be interesting for you to attend to. And Kirsty is our amplifier in Yorkshire, and Kirsty will be sorting out our event in Leeds, won't
That's
you,
correct.
in the new year?
Yes.
So we'll give you those dates as well. But please, when you see the barcode, scan to stand, go to 5050parliament.co.uk and scan to stand. And you might think, well, you know, we've had a change in government. We don't take our foot off the gas. As a famous civil rights leader said, John Lewis, and I'm going to quote a man, "If not us, then who? And if not now, then when?" Keep the pressure on, scan to stand, ask her to stand, and amplify your muted voice.